The night Vanessa told me it was over, the sky above Chicago felt like it had cracked open just for me. The wind off Lake Michigan cut through my jacket as if it knew exactly where my heart was weakest. I remember standing outside her apartment building, staring at the third-floor window that used to glow warm whenever I came over. That night the lights were off, and so was every dream I had carefully built around her name. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the strange ways life tests our hearts before rewarding them, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that sometimes heartbreak is not the end. It's the beginning of something we never expected. Vanessa and I had been together for 3 years. I wasn't rich. I wasn't flashy. I worked as a high school history teacher in Evanston, drove a 10-year-old Honda, and still rented a modest one-bedroom apartment with creaky floors. But I loved her in ways that felt steady and real. I showed up. I listened. I stayed. What I didn't realize was that sometimes love isn't enough when someone wants more than stability. Vanessa wanted a faster life. She wanted downtown penthouses, spontaneous trips to Napa Valley, designer handbags she could photograph under perfect lighting. I wanted Sunday dinners, slow mornings, and the kind of marriage that felt like a long, quiet promise. When she told me she felt stuck, the word echoed in my chest for weeks. She said I was kind but predictable, reliable but not ambitious enough, safe but not exciting. It was strange how those words, meant to be gentle, landed like accusations. I didn't beg her to stay. I didn't shout. I simply nodded as if I had been preparing for this moment all along, even though I hadn't. For the first week after the breakup, I barely slept. I walked through my classroom like a ghost, lecturing about the Civil War while fighting my own internal battle. My friend Marcus noticed the change immediately. He dragged me out for coffee on a freezing Saturday morning, sat across from me at a small cafe near Navy Pier, and told me I looked like I had aged 5 years in 5 days. I laughed, but it came out hollow. The hardest part wasn't losing Vanessa. It was losing the future I had imagined. I had pictured proposing to her on a summer evening at Millennium Park. I had imagined introducing her as my wife at school events. I had already memorized the way her last name would sound attached to mine. Then, 2 weeks after the breakup, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it. Something made me answer. It was her mother. Her name was Rachel Whitman, and she had always intimidated me in the quietest way. Rachel wasn't loud or flashy, but she carried herself with a calm authority that made you sit up straighter. She worked as a financial advisor in downtown Chicago, and every time I visited Vanessa's childhood home in the suburbs, Rachel would ask me thoughtful questions about my career and my students. She listened carefully, as if my answers mattered. When I heard her voice on the phone, my stomach tightened. I assumed she was calling to ask me to stop contacting Vanessa, even though I hadn't. Instead, she asked if I would be willing to meet her for lunch. She said there were things she wanted to talk about. Curiosity overpowered caution. We met at a quiet restaurant in Wilmette overlooking the water. The late afternoon sun reflected off the lake, casting a soft gold glow over everything. Rachel looked different that day, less composed. There were faint lines of exhaustion under her eyes. She didn't waste time pretending it was a casual meeting. She told me she was sorry for how things had ended. She admitted that Vanessa had always struggled with contentment, that she chased feelings the way some people chase careers, quickly and without looking back. Rachel said she had hoped Vanessa would grow out of it. Then she said something that completely shifted the ground beneath me. She told me she had always admired me. She said I had integrity, patience, and a depth that many men lacked. She told me I deserved someone who valued steadiness over spectacle. I remember feeling uncomfortable and strangely seen at the same time. No one had ever described me like that before. But then came the moment that still feels surreal when I think about it. Rachel confessed that over the years, watching me love her daughter had changed her perspective on relationships. She had been divorced for almost a decade. She had built a life centered around work and responsibility. Somewhere along the way, she had forgotten what it felt like to admire someone's heart. She said she wasn't asking for anything reckless. She wasn't trying to replace her daughter. She simply wondered if I would consider having dinner with her, not as Vanessa's former boyfriend, but as a man she respected. The air seemed to thin around us. My first reaction was disbelief. My second was guilt. The idea felt wrong, almost forbidden. Yet beneath the shock was something else, an undeniable warmth. Rachel wasn't playing games. She wasn't chasing excitement. She was offering something honest. I left that lunch torn between loyalty to a relationship that no longer existed and the possibility of something unexpected. For days I replayed the conversation in my mind. Was it betrayal? Was it desperation? Or was it life handing me a strange, complicated opportunity? Marcus reacted exactly how I expected when I told him. He nearly choked on his coffee. But once the laughter subsided, he grew serious. He asked me a question that stuck with me. If Vanessa had moved on without hesitation, why was I still living by rules that no longer applied? After a week of restless nights, I called Rachel. I agreed to dinner. The evening was nothing like I imagined. There was no awkwardness once we began talking. We spoke about books, about the students I taught, about her early struggles building her career in a male-dominated industry. She told me stories about raising Vanessa alone after her divorce, about the sacrifices she had made quietly. I saw her not as someone's mother, but as a woman who had endured loneliness with grace. The challenges came quickly. Vanessa found out within a month. Her reaction was explosive. She accused me of betrayal, of manipulation, of crossing a line that should never be crossed. Her anger spread through mutual friends. I became the villain in stories I barely recognized. It hurt. Not because I doubted my intentions, but because I never wanted to cause pain. Rachel struggled too. She questioned whether she had been selfish. There were nights when she sat across from me in silence, her confidence wavering. But something was different this time. I didn't feel like I was trying to prove my worth. I wasn't trying to impress or chase approval. With Rachel, I felt valued. She listened when I spoke about my fears. She encouraged me to apply for a curriculum leadership position I had been too insecure to pursue. She believed in a future that felt grounded rather than glittery. Months passed. The noise faded. The gossip lost momentum. What remained was something steady and undeniable. Love, when it arrived this time, felt quieter but stronger. It wasn't fireworks. It was sunrise. The real turning point came when I received an offer to become assistant principal at my school. I had almost withdrawn my application out of fear. Rachel had stayed up with me the night before the interview, helping me organize my thoughts, reminding me of my worth. When I got the call, she cried before I did. Standing in my new office weeks later, looking out over the football field, I realized something profound. If Vanessa had never left, I might have stayed small to keep her comfortable. I might have continued believing I wasn't ambitious enough. Heartbreak had forced me to confront my own insecurities, and Rachel's unexpected courage had shown me that love can arrive in forms we never anticipate. Life didn't become perfect. Holidays were complicated. Some friendships never fully recovered. But peace replaced the chaos. I found myself laughing more, sleeping better, dreaming bigger. Before I tell you how this chapter truly settled into something beautiful, I want to ask you something important. If this story is touching your heart, if you've ever experienced a breakup that felt like the end of your world, please comment below and share your experience. Sometimes your story might be the encouragement someone else desperately needs. 2 years after that first shocking lunch, I proposed to Rachel during a quiet walk along the Chicago River at sunset. There were no grand gestures, no audience, just the steady hum of the city and the reflection of golden light on the water. When she said yes, it felt less like a dramatic moment and more like a deep exhale after holding my breath for years. Looking back, I don't see betrayal. I see growth. I see two people who found each other not through scandal, but through honesty and shared resilience. Vanessa eventually built the fast-paced life she wanted. I genuinely hope she found happiness in it. As for me, I found something steadier than excitement. I found partnership. I found someone who valued kindness over flash, depth over display. I found a love that didn't need to be loud to be real. If this story moved you even a little, please like, share, and subscribe. And most importantly, leave a comment letting us know if you believe that second chances can sometimes come from the most unexpected places. Your engagement helps these stories reach hearts that might need hope tonight. Sometimes the person who walks away isn't the one you were meant to build a life with. Sometimes the door that closes behind you is the very one that protects you from a future too small for your soul. And sometimes, just sometimes, love is waiting quietly in the most unexpected seat at the table, asking if you're brave enough to begin again.